Hello, listeners. Welcome along to episode 325 of the Super League Pod, the long-awaited 2021 8th annual Sloppies, the SLP Awards Show. Mark here, and I'm joined by Alan and Sarah. Hiya, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
You'd think it's remarkable that we've only managed to get three of us together when this was all put back to when it was that more of us could be involved. But David had a late change of availability, and Tim is still on his kind of break from rugby league. So Tim, he'll get the odd passing note, especially when we revisit the predictions. but yeah, we're still letting Tim have his breather from rugby league for a little while. But yeah, we've got all of the awards to go through tonight for you. Well, it's tonight for us. Tomorrow when you listen. Why am I I'm talking myself into a hole there. Whenever you listen, this is what you'll find out. So obviously we've got all the sort of favourite awards from around the world of rugby league. Things like favourite refs, best Brit abroad, championship, League One player, that sort of stuff. We've got we've got all of the awards that we didn't do last year are back. So overrated players and worst signings. You know, we were nice to everyone for a year, but we thought no, let's not be nice. Let's get back the awards that everyone enjoys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's God. If you can't stick the boot into your rivals on voting day, what else can you do?
Exactly, yeah, and because last year people had to just create parody kind of voting people to create ones that could stick the boot in, but because they'd be such small in volume, they didn't really land. So this time we've got it all back, and of course we'll finish the awards with the most important award, the Dr. Bob Phillips Award for Listener of the Year. So we've got all of that to look forward to, haven't we, guys? I don't suppose there's been that much else to really get off our chest in the rugby league world, but we will cover off at the end of the show some of the predictions revisited from the start of the season, and within that we'll probably get to talk about a few of the news stories that have happened in the last month or so since we were last in your ears. So settle in for that. But otherwise, let's get into the first award, shall we?
Let's do it.
The first one we're going to do is Match Official of the Year. Previous winners in 2018, it was shared by Ben Thaler and Robert Hicks. In 2019, Robert Hicks won it outright. In 2020, it was Chris Kendall's turn. This year, Sarah, you did your traditional not voting in the Match Officials category?
I don't think this was on my form.
I mean, the truth is, well, you know, if you see Liam Moore's name, a red mist just descends and you can't see anything. So
I do think maybe you just didn't click through to the second page of the form, maybe the second part section, because you haven't voted in any of those categories actually. Well,
there you go. It didn't exist on mine.
If you have one, then feel free to shout it out. Alan, me and you both went the same way. David went the same way as well. So do you want to explain your choice?
Yes, I mentioned it went for the aforementioned Liam Moore. I think he's had big games this year. It feels like it's been a bit of a breakthrough year for him in terms of becoming one of the kind of very established match officials this year. You know, obviously we all give officials shit at various times, but I would say on balance, I think he's probably, I think his performances have kind of reached a new level this year. So that's why I voted for him particularly.
Yeah, I agree. He elevated himself up a level, I think, and I'm not. You know, I know that some people think you can't criticise referees at all, but we certainly would never call them biased or bent or what have you. We leave that to the fans in their match reviews, or occasionally if we lose ourselves in the moment.
Occasionally. Yeah.
I do think some of the other refs have taken a step back this year. I think Chris Kendall, I don't think controlled matches as efficiently as he has done in the last 2 years. I think I've voted him for the last 2 or 3 years in a row. I think he'd been the real star of the group. I think, to me, I think James Child had a good second half of the year, but there's still like people feel like he doesn't control the game enough. Hicks, for me, I've always felt a little bit like Hicks is the most inconsistent, but I think it's just his characterization and stuff. I think he's doing he's setting down a great stall for himself in the new role that he's moving on to in retirement. I just thought Liam Moore elevated himself above the others this year, and he really impressed me. I thought the younger guys as well did okay, but they're still, getting to a position of doing the big games, your Marcus Griffiths and your Tom Grants and the like. And of course, Liam Moore's brother, Aaron Moore, has taken a few jumps forward this year, hasn't he?
Certainly has, yeah, definitely.
Well, a good few people felt the need to put none of them when they were answering this question, even though you can just leave it blank. So that tells you that some people really didn't rate any of the match officials' performance, so they had to go out of their way to say it rather than just leave it blank. Aaron Moore, James Child, Marcus Griffiths, they all got votes, as well as the retiring duo Gareth Hewitt and Tony Martin. Plus there was a vote for, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Aris Dardamanis, who refereed the Malta versus Czechia international game. So there were a wide range of views, but in the end, in third place with 8% of the vote, that was shared between Ben Thaler and Chris Kendall. Second place, 14% of the vote was Robert Hicks, but with an overwhelming lead in the voting. Liam Moore is your match official of the year with 51% of the vote. So well done, Liam Moore.
Yeah, that's pretty unanimous, I would say.
Sarah, shall we move on to Best Brit Abroad?
Yeah, so in this category, we've had previous winners of Gareth Widdup in 2018, John Bateman in 2019, and George Williams in 2020. For this one, both Alan and I abstained, whilst David voted for Luke Thompson, and Mark, you went for Tom Burgess.
Yeah, you put an ex-Saints player on the list, and David's just going to vote blindly, isn't he? Do you know, this was one award that I did think about talking to you guys. Should we even include this year with our sort of off-colour relationship with the NRL in the second half?
We clearly felt that we shouldn't include it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I didn't vote, because they can all go to hell, as far as I'm concerned.
But I still want to, shout out for our guys over there doing it tough, not being able to see the families and all that sort of stuff. I went for Tom Burgess. I think you have to recognise the player that made his way all the way to the grand final. His team didn't win, but I don't think his performances were anything on that. I think consistently throughout the year, when we remembered to bother to look at the NRL stats, he was performing well each week. So I felt like he deserved it personally. But that was my vote. Yeah.
So outside of the top three, Dom Young and Herbie Farms got votes. Inexplicably, EFC 78JU voted for Liam Marshall. So yeah, that might need explaining to us and everyone else.
Yeah, when we get that in the inbox, I'll make sure I share the reasoning with everyone else. But EFC, let us know what on earth where did it come from?
Maybe Liam Marshall's been on holiday, and his holiday photos were the best.
Yeah.
You don't specify what the Brit has got to do abroad. He's
That's
just
true.
been abroad.
That's true.
That's true. Yeah.
So moving on, in third place, 15% of the vote agrees with David and Saints fans voting for Luke Thompson. In second place, 38% of the vote agree with Mark and have voted for Tom Burgess. And the winner with 40% of the vote was Elliot Whitehead.
I suppose that 15% could have included people who share reluctance about the vaccine, but
Yeah,
Elliot Whitehead. I've got to say, in my banning of the NRL, or paying less attention to it, I paid even less attention to Canberra Raiders after what they did to George Williams. So yeah, but
yeah.
I mean, for me, Elliot Whitehead has been quietly a very good player for Canberra for a long, long time. I wouldn't necessarily say that this was his best year, but yeah, for me, yeah, he has been a very consistent player and kind of consistently overlooked as well. So I have no problem with him winning this particular.
Yeah, and it is maintained his consistency, and also is moved into a bigger leadership role at that club, hasn't he, as this year's gone on. So yeah, we all like Elliot Whitehead.
Yeah. So moving on to the Championship or League One Player of the Year. Previous winners of this in 2018 was Jonathan Ford, 2019 John Wilkin, and obviously last year wasn't awarded because the season was curtailed so early. Again, just 2 votes from us. So I went for my secret man crush, Mark Kerala. I think the guy is an unbelievable player. Mark, you went slightly left field with your choice, I would say.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, for me, what were the big stories in the Championship and League One? And I think something that stood out for me this year was Whitehaven making the playoffs.
I think that's a totally fine headline. That's performing way above expectation. I think everybody would agree with that.
Yeah. So I went for Lachlan Walmsley as being kind of a player that he played for Whitehaven, didn't he?
Yeah, he was very good, very dangerous on the wing.
I remember watching him. Ginger, Scottish but Australian but Scottish. Like you can, yeah.
Lachlan Coote.
But yeah, I remember watching him a couple of times earlier on in the season, and there was a cup game that I watched, I think on the Sportsman app or something, where in a beaten side he was really good. Every week you seem to be seeing his name flash up in the match reports and that sort of stuff. And I just think, and he's earned international recognition by the end of the season as well. So I wanted to pick someone from that story, really. Yeah, because I think the Cumbrian story this year has been the best story of the Championship and League One, with 2 sides earning promotion from League One. But to be honest, I saw no games that involved those 2 sides, so I couldn't pick a player from those sides. And Whitehaven, who I saw only a fraction amount more games of, but I felt that's where I'd go.
I think that's fair enough. I went with I felt duty bound to pick a Toulouse player on the basis that they have had a remarkable unbeaten season, and that doesn't happen very often in any sport. So I felt that had to be recognised, and I kind of went for my maybe not the most dominant player, but kind of my favourite Toulouse player, to be honest. But yeah, obviously a lot of players got votes. A few former Super League names getting votes from fans of their former clubs.
Yeah, Salford fan voting for Chris Brining was the one that stood out the most for me.
Well, this is democracy for you. But in third place with 9% of the vote was Craig Hall, who was extremely good for Featherstone, and Remy Casti. In second place, my choice, Mark Carroll, got 13% of the vote. And winner, yet again, with 22% of the vote, was Jonathan Ford, again from the dominant Toulouse side, which is a bit hard to vote against, isn't it, really?
Yeah, Toulouse were definitely, with Remy Casti being in there as well, Toulouse were most people's favourites. I think Tony Gigot might have got a vote too, but he kind of came in halfway through, didn't he? Right, Women's Player of the Year. Previous winners in this category: Lois Forsell in 2018, Courtney Winfield Hill, then just Courtney Hill in 2019. Obviously, last year there was no games played, so we couldn't award a winner last year in this category. But this year has been a great year for the women's game. Me, David, and Alan actually all went for the same choice. So, David, we went for Jodie Cunningham. Alan, I mean.